Chosen one, stop scrolling. Right now. Are you tired of watching everyone else live the life you prayed for? Are you exhausted from waiting for doors that never seem to open while others walk through theirs effortlessly? Have you ever wondered if God forgot your address, if somehow your breakthrough got lost in heaven's mail system? I need to tell you something that's going to shake you to your core. You didn't stumble onto this message. You were pulled here by forces you can't see, by a God who refuses to let you settle for the scraps when He's prepared a feast. Because Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, has been circled in red ink in heaven's calendar, and your name is written right next to it. Here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. Every delay you've endured, every rejection that crushed your spirit, every night you cried yourself to sleep wondering, when will it be my turn? It was all strategic positioning. You weren't being punished, you were being prepared for Wednesday. If you feel a stirring already, like a spiritual alarm clock going off in your soul, comment, I'm listening right now. That's not just interaction, that's alignment. Listen to me carefully. There's a moment coming on Wednesday that's been written into your life before you were even born. It will either pass you by like a midnight train you never heard coming, or it will stop right at your platform and change everything forever. You may not know why you're spiritually restless right now, why you've been waking up at strange hours, why certain songs make you cry for no reason, why you feel like you're standing on the edge of something massive. But something inside you does know. Your spirit is already leaning into what's coming. Wednesday isn't just another day on your calendar. It's a divine appointment, a holy interruption, a moment when heaven and earth collide over your life, and what's been building in the invisible realm finally breaks into your reality. Thank you to every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here, your support, your time, your attention. It all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead. But here's what you need to understand right now. This Wednesday will separate the believers from the wishers, the chosen from the comfortable, those who recognize divine timing from those who let it slip through their fingers like sand. Something is stirring in the heavens. Angels are positioning, your breakthrough is loading, and Wednesday is the delivery date. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will either terrify you or set you completely free. The countdown has begun. Have you ever felt like you're living someone else's life? Like you're watching your dreams play out in other people's stories while you're stuck in the audience? Do you wake up every morning wondering if this is all there is, if you've somehow missed the exit ramp to your destiny? Listen to me, chosen one. Your restlessness isn't accidental. That ache in your chest when you see others walking in their calling, that's not jealousy. That's recognition. Your soul recognizing what it was created for. Here's what's happening in the invisible realm while you're wondering if God has forgotten you. He's been writing your story with the precision of a master composer. Every note of pain, every rest of waiting, every crescendo of hope, it's all building toward a symphony that will leave heaven applauding. You think you're behind schedule, but you're right on time, divine time. Look at Esther, raised as an orphan, hidden in a foreign palace, seemingly forgotten by God. But the Bible says in Esther 4:14, "And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?" She didn't know she was being positioned for a moment that would save an entire nation. She thought she was just surviving, just like you think you're just surviving. But Wednesday, this Wednesday is your such a time as this moment. Your life isn't random. It's like a scroll sealed with divine timing. 7 seals of preparation, testing, refining, positioning, and Wednesday is when one seal breaks open, the seal that's been keeping your breakthrough locked away until you were ready to handle what's coming. Joseph spent 13 years in slavery and prison, wondering if the dreams God gave him were just cruel jokes. 13 years of asking, when, God? When? But Genesis 41:1 says, when 2 full years had passed. 2 full years. Not 1 year and 11 months. Not 2 years and 1 day. When the time was complete, Pharaoh had his dream, and overnight Joseph went from prisoner to prime minister. Your overnight is coming. Wednesday. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness, thinking his calling had died in the desert. 80 years old, tending sheep, probably wondering if he'd misheard God's voice decades earlier. Then one day, an ordinary day, he saw a bush burning. And everything changed. The voice that had been silent for 4 decades suddenly said, "Now is the time." If you've ever wondered, when is it my time? I want you to type that in the comments. Don't be shy. This is spiritual agreement. This is you telling heaven, I'm ready to stop wondering and start walking. But here's what the enemy has been whispering in your ear. You missed it. You're too old, too broken, too far behind, too many mistakes. That's a lie, straight from the pit of hell. The devil knows something about Wednesday that he's desperate to keep from you. He knows that delay isn't denial, it's development. Every closed door wasn't rejection, it was redirection. Every no wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Every season of waiting wasn't wasted time. It was sanctified silence, where God was doing surgery on your soul, removing everything that would contaminate your calling. You've been asking God, why me? But Wednesday will answer a different question. Why not me? Think about it. Right now, in this moment, millions of people are scrolling past videos, chasing distractions, living in spiritual sleep. But you stopped. You're here. You're listening. That's not coincidence. That's calling. You're being awakened for a reason. The same God who parted the Red Sea at exactly the right moment, not a second too early, not a moment too late, has been parting obstacles in your path that you can't even see yet. The same God who made the sun stand still for Joshua has been holding back time itself until you're positioned for victory. But here's the part that will either make you weep or make you worship. God didn't just prepare a moment for you. He prepared you for the moment. Every heartbreak taught you compassion. Every betrayal taught you discernment. Every loss taught you what really matters. Every delay taught you to depend on His timing instead of your timeline. You're not the same person who started this journey. You've been refined in ways you don't even realize. Strengthened in places that used to be weak. Prepared for assignments you haven't even imagined yet. Wednesday isn't just about what you're going to receive. It's about who you've become while you were waiting. And who you've become is exactly who the world needs for what's coming. The scroll is unrolling, the seal is breaking, the stage is set. But here's the question that will determine everything. When Wednesday arrives, will you recognize it? Or will you be so focused on what hasn't happened yet that you miss what's happening now? Because what I'm about to tell you next will change how you see every moment between now and Wednesday. You've been feeling it, haven't you? That strange stirring deep in your chest. That restlessness that has nothing to do with caffeine and everything to do with calling. You've been waking up at 3:17 a.m., 4:44 a.m. not from anxiety, but from activation. Your spirit is receiving downloads while your body is trying to rest. And you thought something was wrong with you. Dear chosen one, let me tell you what's really happening. Your heart has been whispering a message your mind hasn't caught up to yet. You've been spiritually pregnant with something so significant that your soul can't sleep. Like Mary carrying the Christ child, you're carrying a divine assignment that's about to birth itself into reality. But here's what's been tearing you apart inside. You've endured seasons of silence, so deafening it made you question if God had your phone number. You've sent up prayers that seemed to bounce off heaven's ceiling like rubber balls. You've watched others get their miracles while you sat in the waiting room of faith, wondering if the doctor would ever call your name. You've cried prayers that felt like they evaporated before they reached the throne room. Nights when you whispered, "God, did you forget me?" Mornings when you woke up disappointed that you woke up at all because living felt harder than hoping. The psalmist David knew this feeling. In Psalm 13 he cried out, "How long, Lord? Will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? Even the man after God's own heart felt abandoned in the silence. But here's what David discovered, and what you're about to learn: God's silence doesn't mean God's absence. You see, there's a difference between divine delay and divine denial. What feels like rejection is actually divine protection. What looks like God ignoring you is actually God preparing the stage for your grand entrance. Think about it this way. When a Broadway show is about to premiere, the theater goes dark for weeks. No audience, no lights, no applause. Just builders, electricians, and set designers working in the shadows, crafting something magnificent. The silence doesn't mean the show is cancelled. It means opening night is coming. That's where you've been living, chosen one, in the divine construction zone. Heaven has been building something so spectacular for your life that it required complete radio silence. Because if you had known what was being assembled behind the spiritual curtain, your human mind would have tried to help God and messed up the masterpiece. But here's the controversial truth that's going to shake your theology. What if God never intended for you to be comfortable in this season? What if the restlessness you've been fighting was actually the Holy Spirit stirring up your nest, forcing you out of familiar territories because eagles can't soar from chicken coops? Isaiah 40-31 promises, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. But before eagles fly, they get pushed out of the nest." What feels like rejection is actually divine ejection, God launching you into your destiny. You've been interpreting your discomfort as God's disapproval. You've been reading your restlessness as spiritual rebellion. But what if, just what if, your inability to settle for less is actually God's refusal to let you accept scraps when He's prepared a banquet? That tension you feel when you see others living their dreams while you're still fighting for yours. That's not jealousy. That's divine dissatisfaction. Your spirit recognizes what it was created for, and it's refusing to be pacified by substitutes. Here's what the enemy doesn't want you to realize. Every giant you faced, every door that slammed in your face, every person who walked away when things got difficult, they weren't roadblocks. They were eliminations. God was removing everything that couldn't handle where He's taking you. You've been in spiritual boot camp, chosen one, and Wednesday is your graduation day. Let me hit you with this truth that's going to change everything. What if I told you that the silence wasn't abandonment, it was preparation for this very week? What if every unanswered prayer was God saying, "Not yet, but soon"? What if every delay was actually divine timing protecting you from receiving your blessing before you were strong enough to carry it? Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before leading Israel out of Egypt. Jesus spent 30 years in obscurity before beginning his ministry. David was anointed king but lived in caves for years before touching the throne. Your waiting period wasn't punishment. It was preparation for Wednesday's revelation. The restlessness you feel isn't anxiety, it's anticipation. Your spirit knows something your mind hasn't figured out yet. You're not losing your mind, you're finding your purpose. And that purpose has been scheduled for delivery this Wednesday. If this is resonating deep in your soul, if you feel like I'm reading your spiritual mail, drop a G-emoji or say, "That's me," in the comments right now. Don't just consume this word, engage with it. Your engagement isn't just interaction, it's activation. Because here's what's about to happen next. While you've been feeling overlooked, heaven has been setting up something so precisely orchestrated that when it unfolds, you'll understand why nothing else worked out. The pieces of your puzzle are about to fall into place with such divine precision that you'll weep at the beauty of God's timing. But first, you need to understand exactly what's been building in the invisible realm while you've been walking through visible struggles. Some days on the calendar are inked in heaven before we ever live them. This Wednesday is one of them. Let me tell you something that's going to shake the foundation of everything you think you know about divine timing. You've been living your life thinking that breakthrough comes when you're ready for it. But that's not how God operates. He doesn't wait for your permission. He doesn't check your schedule. When he decides it's time to move mountains in your life, he simply moves them. And Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, is Mountain Moving Day. Listen closely, because what I'm about to reveal will either wake you up or leave you sleepwalking through the most important 24 hours of your entire existence. You see, Wednesday isn't just another day, it's a spiritual hinge. One moment on which a whole door swings. The door between who you've been and who you're becoming. Between the struggle and the breakthrough. Between the prayer and the answer. But here's where it gets dangerous. Here's where most people miss it completely. They treat divine appointments like ordinary Tuesday meetings. They show up unprepared, distracted, half asleep to the supernatural. And they wonder why nothing changes. This is not a day to be distracted, not a day to delay, not a day to play small with your destiny. You want to know why most people live ordinary lives? Because they treat extraordinary moments like ordinary moments. They let heaven's most precious gift slip through their fingers while they're busy scrolling, worrying, or waiting for a better time. But you're different. You're here. You're listening. Which means your spirit already knows something your mind hasn't caught up to yet. In Ecclesiastes 3:1, Solomon wrote, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. Not eventually there might be a time, not hopefully there will be a time. There is a time, a specific, appointed, divinely orchestrated time. And for you, chosen one, that time is Wednesday." Why Wednesday? Why not Monday or Friday or next month when you feel more ready? Because God's timing isn't based on your comfort level, it's based on His perfect plan. And His perfect plan says that everything you've been through, every tear, every setback, every night you fell asleep wondering if He forgot about you, it was all preparation for this Wednesday. You've been asking God, when will my breakthrough come? And He's been preparing to answer, Wednesday. But here's what terrifies me for you. Here's what keeps me awake at night praying for people like you who are standing on the edge of their destiny. Most people miss their Wednesday. They miss it because they're looking for fireworks when God sends whispers. They're expecting Hollywood drama when He moves in holy silence. They're waiting for angels with trumpets when He speaks through a quiet knowing in their spirit. There's a whisper God is going to release on Wednesday. It might not be loud, but it'll change the rest of your life. The question isn't whether God will show up. He always shows up. The question is whether you'll recognize Him when He does. In 1 Kings 19:12, when Elijah was looking for God, he wasn't in the wind, the earthquake, or the fire. He was in a still, small voice. That's how breakthrough often comes. Not with fanfare, but with a whisper that reshapes everything. Are you listening? Really listening? Because Wednesday is coming whether you're ready or not. It's coming whether you believe it or not. It's coming whether you're paying attention or not. But only those who position themselves correctly will receive what's being released. Think about this for a moment. How many divine appointments have you already missed because you were too busy, too distracted, too focused on your problems to notice God's solutions walking right past you? How many times has heaven tried to download your breakthrough, but your spiritual Wi-Fi was disconnected because you were tuned into fear instead of faith? Wednesday is your reset button, your second chance, your divine do-over, but it requires something from you. It requires you to show up differently than you've ever shown up before. It requires you to believe bigger than you've ever believed. It requires you to expect more than you've ever dared to expect. The enemy knows what's coming on Wednesday. That's why he's been working overtime to keep you discouraged, distracted, and defeated. That's why this week has felt heavier than usual. That's why doubt has been whispering louder than normal. He knows that if you connect with what God is releasing on Wednesday, everything changes. Your story changes, your family's story changes, your bloodline's story changes. In Jeremiah 29:11, God declares, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you hope and a future." Not plans to keep you struggling, not plans to keep you waiting indefinitely, plans to prosper you. And those plans have a delivery date, Wednesday. But here's the part that will either make you or break you. Wednesday isn't coming to you. You have to come to Wednesday. You have to position yourself. You have to prepare your heart. You have to clear the spiritual clutter and make room for what's about to unfold. This isn't a passive experience. This is an active alignment with divine timing. So I'm asking you right now, what are you going to do with this information? Are you going to treat it like another inspirational message that makes you feel good for 5 minutes and then gets buried under your daily routine? Or are you going to recognize that this is your moment, your time, your Wednesday, and everything you do between now and then will determine whether you receive what heaven is trying to give you? Because make no mistake about it, Wednesday is not just another day. It's the day when heaven and earth collide over your destiny, and what's been building in the invisible realm finally breaks through into your reality. The question that will haunt you forever if you don't answer it correctly is this: when Wednesday comes calling with your breakthrough, will you be ready to answer the door? You know what breaks my heart? When I see chosen ones like you sitting in the wreckage of their past, convinced that all the pain was punishment, convinced that every betrayal, every setback, every door that slammed in your face was evidence that God had forgotten you. Let me tell you something that's going to change everything you thought you knew about your story. You weren't attacked because you were weak. You were attacked because you were marked. Think about it. The enemy doesn't waste ammunition on empty targets. He doesn't spend years orchestrating attacks against people who pose no threat to his kingdom. But you've been under assault since day one. Why? Because hell knows something about your destiny that you're just beginning to discover. Listen to what Jesus said in John 15:19. If you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. As it is, you do not belong to the world, but I have chosen you out of the world. Chosen you out of the world. That's not poetry, that's a declaration of war. The moment heaven marked you, hell took notice. Every struggle you've endured wasn't random chaos. It was strategic warfare against your calling. You want to know why your childhood was harder than others? Why your relationships kept falling apart? Why money seemed to slip through your fingers like water? Why you felt like you were swimming upstream your entire life? Because the devil didn't fight you because of where you've been, but because of what you carry. There's something inside you that terrifies the kingdom of darkness. Something so powerful, so anointed, so dangerous to hell's agenda, that the enemy has spent decades trying to convince you it doesn't exist. He's whispered lies about your worth, your purpose, your potential. He's used people you trusted to wound you in places that still ache when you think about them. But here's what he never counted on. Here's what makes demons tremble in the spiritual realm. Every attack was actually building your authority. Every betrayal was strengthening your discernment. Every financial struggle was teaching you to depend on a provider who owns cattle on 1,000 hills. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Arrows are pulled back before they fly. You weren't stuck, you were being stretched. Think about David, anointed as a teenager, but didn't see the throne for 15 years. 15 years of running, hiding, being hunted by the very king he was destined to replace. Was God late? Was heaven sleeping? Or was David being forged in the wilderness, learning to hear God's voice in the cave, developing the heart of a warrior king in the crucible of conflict? The same God who allowed Saul to chase David has allowed circumstances to chase you, not to destroy you, but to develop you, not to diminish you, but to refine you into the weapon of mass blessing you were always meant to be. You've been asking God, why me? Why so much pain? Why so many closed doors? But what if you've been asking the wrong questions? What if the real question is, what am I carrying that requires this level of preparation? Joseph knew. 13 years from the pit to the palace. 13 years of slavery, false accusations, forgotten promises. But every single day was building the character, the wisdom, the humility he would need to save nations from famine. What if everything you called delay was actually heaven's disguise for development? What if every no was preparing you for a yes so big it will shock you? What if every person who walked away was making room for the right people to walk in? What if every financial struggle was teaching you how to manage the abundance that's about to flood your life? You see, the enemy's greatest mistake was thinking that pressure would break you. But pressure doesn't break. Diamonds, it creates them. And you, chosen one, you're not just surviving the pressure, you're being transformed by it. Psalm 105:19 says about Joseph, "Until the time that his word came to pass, the word of the Lord tested him. The word of the Lord tested him. Not the devil, not circumstances." God himself was in the testing, refining, preparing. Your pain has a purpose. Your struggle has significance. Your delay has divine design. Wednesday is coming because heaven has decided you're ready. Ready to step into what you've been prepared for. Ready to walk in the authority you've earned through endurance. Ready to use the wisdom you've gained through warfare. The enemy fought you so hard because he knew this day was coming. He knew there would be a moment when all the pieces would fall into place, when the pain would make sense, when the preparation period would end and the manifestation season would begin. That moment is Wednesday. Say this with me. I am marked. I am chosen. I will not miss my moment. You've survived everything hell threw at you. You're still standing when you should have fallen. You're still believing when logic said quit. You're still here, still watching this message, still stirring with hope in your spirit. That's not coincidence. That's confirmation. Wednesday isn't just another day. It's the day your story changes. The day your pain becomes your platform. The day your test becomes your testimony. But there's something you need to understand about what's about to unfold. Something that will determine whether you step into your moment or watch it pass you by. Chosen one, let me paint you a picture of what's waiting on the other side of Wednesday. And I need you to listen with more than your ears. I need you to listen with your spirit. Because what I'm about to show you isn't just possibility. It's prophecy. There's favor waiting on the other side of your yes. There's clarity. There's peace. There's legacy. You see, right now you're living in the shadows of what could be. You're walking through life carrying dreams that feel too big, promises that seem too distant, and a calling that others can't understand. But Wednesday is when God pulls back the curtain just enough to let you glimpse what's coming. You're going to feel it when you wake up that morning. The air will feel different. Your chest will feel lighter. And your spirit will know. But here's what breaks my heart. How many of God's chosen ones are sitting in waiting rooms of their own making, convinced they've missed their moment? How many are walking around with supernatural gifts wrapped in boxes they're too afraid to open? You've been programmed to believe that breakthrough is for other people, that miracles happen to everyone except you. Let me shatter that lie right now. In Jeremiah 29:11, God declares, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you hope and a future." Notice, he didn't say, "I'm thinking about plans." He said, "I know the plans." Past tense, already decided, already written, already sealed in heaven's archives with your name on it. But here's the part that will rock you to your core. Those plans have an activation date. And for you, chosen one, that date is Wednesday. You've been living in survival mode for so long that you've forgotten what it feels like to thrive. You've been managing lack instead of manifesting abundance. You've been praying for scraps when God has prepared a banquet table with your name engraved on the chair. Wednesday is the day you stop begging for what's already yours. I see you there, sitting in that quiet desperation, wondering if God really sees your struggle, wondering if he remembers the prayers you whispered through tears at 3 a.m. Let me tell you something that will change everything. Those midnight prayers weren't falling on deaf ears. They were building momentum in the heavenly realm. Every tear was collecting interest. Every faithful moment was adding weight to your testimony. And now it's about to pay dividends. You're about to step into a dimension where doors don't just open, They swing wide with supernatural force. Where opportunities don't just present themselves, they pursue you. Where favor doesn't just show up, it surrounds you like a shield. But I need to warn you about something. This level of breakthrough comes with resistance. The enemy has been watching your trajectory, and he knows what Wednesday represents. He's going to try everything to distract you, discourage you, delay you. He'll send familiar voices to plant seeds of doubt. He'll resurrect old fears to paralyze your faith. Why? Because he knows what I know. What's coming through you isn't just personal, it's generational. When God moves in your life on Wednesday, he's not just blessing you, he's breaking cycles that have held your bloodline captive for decades. Isaiah 43:19 says, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." God is literally creating pathways where none existed before. He's making streams flow in your desert seasons. You're going to wake up Wednesday morning, and something will be different in your atmosphere. The weight you've been carrying gone, the fog you've been walking through lifted, the confusion that's been clouding your judgment cleared. You'll look in the mirror and see someone you haven't seen in years. Not because your appearance changed, but because your countenance shifted. There's a light that comes when heaven officially endorses your assignment. There's a glow that appears when your calling moves from promise to manifestation. People are going to start treating you differently, not because you demanded respect, but because you'll be carrying divine authority. Conversations will shift in your favor. Contracts will materialize out of nowhere. Resources will find their way to you through channels you never cultivated. This is what happens when God's chosen ones step into their appointed time. But here's the question that will determine everything. Are you going to recognize Wednesday when it arrives? Or are you going to let it pass by like every other ordinary day because you weren't spiritually alert enough to catch what heaven was releasing? Moses almost missed his burning bush moment because he was focused on sheep instead of signs. Gideon almost missed his calling because he was hiding in a winepress instead of standing in faith. David almost stayed in the field while his brothers went to battle. What if Wednesday comes disguised as an ordinary moment? What if your breakthrough shows up wearing work clothes instead of royal robes? What if God speaks through a whisper instead of thunder? The magnitude of what's about to shift in your life requires a new level of spiritual sensitivity. You can't sleepwalk into your destiny. You can't scroll through your miracle. You can't be spiritually distracted when heaven is downloading your upgrade. Wednesday isn't just another day. It's the day your story pivots from struggle to victory, from barely surviving to abundantly thriving, from hoping things change to becoming the change. But that transformation, that complete life reconstruction, requires one thing from you, a decision that will separate you from everyone else who's content to stay comfortable in their limitations. Now listen carefully, chosen one. What I'm about to give you isn't just advice, it's a divine protocol, a sacred instruction that's been downloaded directly from heaven's throne room into this moment. Because Wednesday isn't coming to play games with your destiny. You want to know why most people miss their breakthrough moments? It's not because God didn't show up. It's because they were too busy, too distracted, too spiritually cluttered to hear him when he whispered their name. Think about it. When was the last time you sat in complete silence? When did you last turn off every device, every notification, every voice except the one that matters most? Most of you can't even remember, can you? And that's exactly why your breakthrough keeps walking past your front door without knocking. Here's the brutal truth. God will not compete with your distractions. He will not shout over your chaos. He will not force his way through the noise you've allowed to dominate your life. Heaven doesn't shout. It whispers, and the whisper will come when you make room for it. But this Wednesday requires something different from you. It demands sacred intentionality. First, silence the noise. I need you to understand something that's going to challenge everything you think you know about staying connected. Your phone isn't keeping you connected to what matters, it's keeping you disconnected from what's eternal. Wednesday morning, when you wake up, before you reach for that device, before you check those messages, before you let the world dump its anxiety into your spirit, stop. Turn it off, not on silent, off. Because every buzz, every ping, every notification is a spiritual interruption designed to steal your divine appointment. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. 3 words that could change your life. Be still. Know. But how can you know anything when your mind is scattered across 1,000 meaningless conversations and your spirit is drowning in digital noise? The enemy knows that if you get quiet enough on Wednesday, you'll hear something that will terrify him. You'll hear your assignment. You'll hear your next move. You'll hear the voice that's been trying to reach you through all the static. So silence everything. Every device. Every distraction. Every voice that isn't his. Second, create stillness. But it's not enough to just turn off the noise. You have to actively create sacred space. Your spirit needs room to breathe, to expand, to receive what heaven is preparing to download. Go for a walk. Not a power walk with music blasting in your ears. A sacred walk, where every step becomes a prayer and every breath becomes worship. Let your feet touch the ground he created, while your spirit touches the realm he inhabits. Or find a quiet place and open his word. Not to study theology or impress anyone with your knowledge. Open it to commune, to connect, to create a bridge between your hunger and his heart. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119-105. On Wednesday, you're going to need that light, because the path you're about to walk requires divine navigation. Human GPS won't cut it. You need supernatural guidance. Sit with Scripture. Let it sit with you. Don't rush through verses like you're checking items off a spiritual to-do list. Linger. Listen. Let the words become alive in your mouth and active in your spirit. Because here's what happens. In stillness, clarity comes. Vision sharpens. The fog lifts. And suddenly, you can see what's been there all along. Third, be open to act. This is where most people fail. They hear the whisper, they feel the nudge, they sense the divine direction, and then they hesitate. They rationalize. They make excuses. They let fear dress up as wisdom and talk them out of their miracle. But Wednesday is not the day for hesitation. It's the day for immediate obedience. You may be told to call someone you haven't spoken to in years. Call them. You may be told to write something, a letter, an apology, a yes to an opportunity you've been avoiding. Write it. You may be told to say yes to something that scares you, or no to something that's been draining you. Say it. Faith without works is dead. James 2:26. Dead faith produces dead results. But living faith moves mountains, opens doors, and shifts atmospheres. The instruction might seem small. It might seem insignificant. Don't despise the day of small beginnings. Because God often uses tiny acts of obedience to trigger massive spiritual avalanches. Remember Naaman the leper? He almost missed his healing because the instructions seemed too simple. Dip in the river 7 times, that's it. But sometimes the simplest obedience unlocks the most profound breakthrough. Your Wednesday instruction might be equally simple, but your response to it will determine whether you walk into your next level or stay stuck in your current struggle. If you're committing to God this Wednesday to silence the noise, create stillness, and be ready to act, type "I'm ready" below, because heaven is watching. Angels are listening. And your breakthrough is positioning itself for arrival. But here's what you must understand as we move forward this Wednesday isn't just about what you'll receive, it's about who you'll become in the process of receiving it. Chosen one, we've reached the moment where everything pivots, where your past meets your purpose, where heaven stops whispering and starts shouting your name. You've been walking through life carrying a question that burns in your chest. When will it be my turn? You've watched others step into their destiny while you stood in the shadows, wondering if God had forgotten your zip code. You've prayed until your knees were raw, fasted until your stomach ached, and believed until your faith felt fragile as glass. But what if I told you that every closed door, every delayed answer, every midnight tear was God's way of protecting what He was preparing for Wednesday? Listen to me carefully. There's a spiritual principle that most believers never grasp. Divine timing isn't about when you're ready. It's about when heaven is ready to back your breakthrough with supernatural force. Job waited through his darkest season, lost everything that defined him, and then God restored him double. Not because Job was perfect, but because his yes in the darkness positioned him for a comeback that would echo through eternity. Job 42:10 tells us, "The Lord restored his fortunes when he prayed for his friends, and the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before." One act of obedience can shift 10 years of delay. You see, chosen one, your Wednesday isn't just about you receiving something, it's about you becoming someone. Someone who recognizes divine moments when they arrive disguised as ordinary days. Someone whose yes doesn't hesitate, doesn't negotiate, doesn't wait for perfect circumstances. What if the reason doors were shut was because Wednesday hadn't arrived yet? What if God was holding back every breakthrough until this exact moment when your spirit would be mature enough to steward what He's about to release? Consider Esther. She didn't know she was being prepared for palace life when she was just another girl in exile. She couldn't see that her beauty, her wisdom, her courage were being refined for such a time as this. But when her Wednesday arrived, when Haman's plot threatened to destroy her people, her yes saved a nation. Your yes this Wednesday won't just change your story. It will rewrite your family tree. One yes can rewrite your legacy. But here's what's haunting me, chosen one. What if Wednesday comes and goes, and you're too busy, too distracted, too wounded by past disappointments to recognize it? What if the very moment heaven has been orchestrating for decades slips through your fingers because you've grown comfortable with your limitations? Moses stood at a burning bush for 80 years of preparation. 80 years. Can you imagine the nights he wondered if he'd missed his calling? But when Wednesday arrived, when Pharaoh's oppression reached its peak and Israel's cries pierced heaven, Moses' yes liberated 6 million people and parted the Red Sea. What if your name is being whispered in rooms you haven't walked into yet? What if contracts are being drafted with your signature already penciled in? What if healing is being prepared for someone who won't receive it unless you say yes to your assignment this Wednesday? You think your breakthrough is just about you getting what you've prayed for. But God is playing chess while you're playing checkers. Your obedience this Wednesday is connected to breakthrough chains that stretch far beyond your personal needs. David didn't know that his yes to face Goliath would position him for the throne. He just knew he couldn't stand there and watch God's name be mocked. 1 Samuel 17:45 records his declaration, "I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." One shepherd boy's yes changed a nation's destiny. Chosen one, I need you to understand something that will either liberate you or terrify you. Your Wednesday is not optional. It's inevitable. The question isn't whether it's coming. The question is whether you'll be awake when it arrives. What if everything you've been through, every betrayal, every disappointment, every season of silence was boot camp for this moment? What if your scars aren't evidence of your failures but proof of your preparation? You've been asking God to change your circumstances. But what if He's been changing you? What if He's been building spiritual muscle you didn't know you needed? What if He's been teaching you to hear His voice in the storm? Because on Wednesday, you'll need to move when others are paralyzed by fear. The enemy has spent years trying to convince you that you're not qualified, not chosen, not ready. But lions don't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep. And you, chosen one, carry the DNA of the Lion of Judah. What if your past wasn't meant to disqualify you, but to authenticate you? What if your pain wasn't meant to break you, but to prepare you to heal others who are exactly where you've been? This Wednesday, when heaven opens its mouth to speak your assignment, your yes won't just echo in your living room. It will reverberate through boardrooms, hospital rooms, and broken homes you've never seen. If you believe your yes this week is tied to someone else's breakthrough, say it now. I will not miss it. Because chosen one, Wednesday isn't just coming for you. Wednesday is coming through you. And what flows through an obedient vessel changes everything it touches. The question that will determine your next decade is simple. When Wednesday whispers your name, will you be ready to answer? Chosen one, I need you to understand something that will shatter everything you thought you knew about your journey. For years, you've been walking through life feeling like you're missing pieces of a puzzle. Like there's some cosmic joke everyone else is in on, but you're standing outside the circle. You've questioned your worth, your timing, your very existence. But what if I told you that what felt like abandonment was actually divine protection? What if every closed door was heaven's way of saving you from settling for less than your destiny? You didn't see the angels that stood guard while you wept in your car at 2 a.m., wondering if God had forgotten your name. You didn't see the spiritual warriors that fought battles in the heavenly realm while you fought depression in your bedroom. You didn't see the doors he slammed shut because he loved you too much to let you build your life on sinking sand. You didn't see the meetings in heaven where your name was mentioned, the strategies discussed, the timing calculated down to the very second. You didn't see, but he did. And now, this Wednesday, the veil is being pulled back. Listen to me carefully. God has been leaving invisible fingerprints all over your life, signs that only the chosen can recognize. That unexplainable peace you felt when everything was falling apart, that was his fingerprint. The person who walked into your life at exactly the right moment with exactly the right words. Another fingerprint. The job you lost that you thought would destroy you, but instead led you to something better. Fingerprint after fingerprint after fingerprint. Your life hasn't been random, it's been orchestrated. Like constellations forming patterns only prophets can read, your life is beginning to make sense in the sky. What looked like scattered stars are actually forming the blueprint of your destiny. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to realize. You've been in spiritual training. Every heartbreak was building your compassion. Every financial struggle was developing your faith muscles. Every betrayal was teaching you discernment. You thought you were being punished, but you were actually being prepared. In Jeremiah 1-5, God says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." Set you apart for what? For this moment, for this Wednesday, for what's about to unfold in your life that will make every second of waiting worth it. Do you remember Joseph? Sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused, forgotten in prison. But Genesis 50-20 tells us the truth. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Your pain wasn't pointless, it was purposeful. And this Wednesday, you're about to see how every thread of your story weaves together into something beautiful. Right now, as I'm speaking these words, there are shifts happening in the invisible realm. Doors that have been sealed are beginning to crack open. Favor that has been stored up in your name is beginning to move. Relationships that are aligned with your destiny are being positioned to find you. You've felt it, haven't you? That restlessness in your spirit, that sense that something big is coming. Your soul is responding to spiritual frequencies that your mind can't yet comprehend. You're like a radio that's finally being tuned to the right station. The static is clearing, and you're beginning to hear heaven's broadcast over your life. This isn't about your past anymore. It's about your placement in a divine story that's already unfolding. You're not just a character in this story, you're essential to how it ends. The protagonist, the chosen one that everything has been building toward. But I need to ask you something that might hurt. How long are you going to keep God waiting? He's been preparing a table for you in the presence of your enemies, as Psalm 23 promises. But you keep standing at the door, afraid to sit down and eat. Wednesday is your invitation to stop surviving and start thriving, to stop existing and start living the life that was designed specifically for you. The enemy has been whispering lies in your ear for years. You're too old. You've missed your chance. You're not qualified. You don't have what it takes. But God's voice is about to roar louder than every lie you've ever believed about yourself. In Isaiah 43:19, God declares, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." This Wednesday, you're going to perceive it. You're going to see the way being made. You're going to drink from streams that appear in your desert. The clock is ticking. Heaven's calendar has marked this moment. Angels are positioning themselves. Your breakthrough is loaded and ready for delivery. But here's the critical part. You have to be ready to receive it. Are you going to let another divine appointment pass you by? Are you going to let fear convince you that this is just another false hope? Or are you going to rise up and claim what heaven has already released over your life? Because what's coming next will require every ounce of faith you've been building in the darkness. What I'm about to reveal about Wednesday will either activate your destiny or expose your doubt. The choice is yours. But first, you need to understand exactly what heaven has been orchestrating behind the scenes while you thought nothing was happening. Chosen one, I need to tell you something that might make you uncomfortable. For years, you've been trained to believe that faith is about waiting, sitting, praying harder, being patient while God works it out. But what if I told you that your faith has been weaponized against you? What if the very thing you thought was spiritual, your endless waiting, has become the prison keeping you from your breakthrough? Listen to me carefully. The season of passive faith is over. Dead. Buried. Wednesday is ushering in something completely different. Something that will separate the wheat from the chaff, the chosen from the comfortable, the movers from the wishers. The test is no longer just, can you believe? It's, will you move? Moses stood at the Red Sea for hours, praying, believing, trusting. But you know what happened? Nothing. The water didn't budge. The Egyptians got closer. Death was breathing down their necks, until God said something that changed everything. Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move forward. Exodus 14:15. Move forward. Not pray harder. Not believe deeper. Move. You see, Moses had to lift his staff. The Israelites had to take the first step into the water. The miracle was conditional on movement. Faith without works, without action is dead, James 2:26 tells us. You're standing at your own Red Sea right now. Behind you, the failures, the rejections, the years of disappointment are chasing you down like Egyptian chariots. In front of you is the impossible, the dream that seems too big, the calling that terrifies you, the business you've never started, the conversation you've never had, the forgiveness you've never offered. And you've been standing there, waiting for the water to part first. But here's what heaven has been trying to tell you. The water won't part until your foot touches it. Heaven is holding its breath, watching, waiting for your first step. Not your first prayer, not your first wish, your first step. Wednesday is coming to strip away every excuse you've been hiding behind. Every I'm not ready. Every it's not the right time. Every God hasn't opened the door yet. What if God has been waiting for you to walk toward the door? I'm talking to the woman who's been called to write that book for 7 years, but keeps saying, when I have more time. I'm talking to the man who knows he's supposed to start that ministry, but keeps waiting for more resources. I'm talking to the person who's been circling their purpose like a plane that never lands, burning fuel, going nowhere. Your spiritual fuel tank is running low, and Wednesday is your final approach. The divine exchange isn't about giving God more of your worship. He already owns it all. The exchange is about trading your fear for his boldness, your waiting for his moving, your someday for his today. David didn't defeat Goliath by praying about it. He picked up 5 smooth stones and ran toward the giant. 1 Samuel 17:48 says he ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. ran quickly, not walked thoughtfully, not prayed extensively. He moved with holy urgency. When was the last time you moved with holy urgency toward anything? When was the last time you felt your spirit burning so hot that sitting still became impossible? When did your calling last make you uncomfortable enough to act? You've been comfortable too long. Comfort is the enemy of calling. Comfort is where dreams go to die quietly. Wednesday is coming to make you uncomfortable again, to stir up the holy dissatisfaction that moves mountains, to remind you that you weren't created to watch from the sidelines while others live your dreams. But I need you to understand something critical. This movement isn't reckless. It's not about jumping off cliffs hoping God will catch you. This is strategic surrender, calculated obedience. Moving when He says move, how He says move, where He says move. The difference between presumption and faith is timing. The difference between foolishness and boldness is direction. And right now, Wednesday is bringing both timing and direction into perfect alignment over your life. Noah didn't wait for the flood to start building the ark. Abraham didn't wait to see Canaan before he left Ur. Mary didn't wait to understand how before she said yes. They moved in faith, not in sight. You've been demanding sight before you'll give movement. But Wednesday is about to flip that script. Movement first. Sight will follow. The door you've been knocking on for years, stop knocking, try turning the handle. It might have been unlocked this whole time, waiting for you to stop begging and start entering. The relationship you've been praying about. Stop praying. Start the conversation. The dream you've been nurturing in secret. Stop protecting it from failure. Expose it to possibility. If you're ready to move or not, just believe, but act. Type it in right now. I will cross. Because Wednesday isn't coming to those who wish, it's coming to those who will. It's coming to those who understand that faith is a verb, not a feeling. Movement is worship. Action is prayer. But I have to warn you about something that's going to try to stop you the moment you decide to move. Chosen one, as we reach the end of this divine encounter, I need you to carry these truths with you like fire in your bones. Remember this, Wednesday isn't just another day, it's your appointed time. Every delay you've endured, every rejection that stung, every moment you questioned if God had forgotten you, was all preparation, not punishment. You weren't being overlooked, you were being prepared for such a time as this. Remember that faith without movement is just wishful thinking. The Red Sea doesn't part until your foot touches the water. Your breakthrough is waiting on the other side of your obedience. The test isn't whether you can believe anymore, it's whether you will move. And remember this above all else. You are not walking this path alone. Right now, as you sit listening to these words, the God who parted seas and moved mountains is orchestrating circumstances in your favor. He's aligning people, opening doors, and shifting atmospheres. What looks like silence is actually divine strategy unfolding behind the scenes. But more than that, you're part of a community. Every person watching this video right now, every soul who feels that stirring in their spirit, we're connected by something deeper than chance. We're connected by calling, by purpose, by the same God who refuses to let any of His chosen ones walk alone. Let me ask you this. When Wednesday comes, will you recognize it? Will you be ready to move when heaven gives the signal? Or will you let another divine appointment slip through your fingers like so many others have? I want to pray over you right now. Not just a prayer, but a declaration, a prophetic blessing over your life, your calling, your Wednesday breakthrough. Father God, I come before you right now on behalf of every precious soul listening to these words. Lord, you see them. You know their struggles, their fears, their midnight tears. You've counted every prayer they've whispered, every time they've felt like giving up but chose to hold on instead. God, I ask you to pour out your spirit of boldness over them right now. Where there has been fear, release courage. Where there has been doubt, establish faith. Where there has been waiting, ignite movement. Lord, prepare their hearts for Wednesday. Open their spiritual eyes to recognize the signs you're sending. Give them supernatural discernment to know when to move and how to move. Let no divine appointment pass them by. Father, surround them with your favor. Go before them and make their paths straight. Remove every obstacle that would hinder their breakthrough. Silence every voice that would discourage their calling. And God, when Wednesday comes, let them feel your presence so strongly that all fear melts away. Let them move with holy confidence, knowing that you who began this good work in them will be faithful to complete it. We thank you that they are not alone, that you are fighting battles they cannot see, that you are working miracles they cannot yet imagine. We declare that their best days are not behind them, they are ahead of them. In the mighty name of Jesus, we claim Wednesday as their breakthrough day. Let it be so. Amen. If this message has stirred something deep in your spirit, I want you to let this community know. Comment below and tell us, I'm ready for my Wednesday. Share what God is speaking to your heart. Your testimony might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to find their courage. And please, don't keep this message to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear that their breakthrough is coming. Tag a friend who's been waiting for their miracle. Send it to that family member who's been struggling with their calling. Because sometimes we're the bridge God uses to get his message to someone who desperately needs hope. If you've made it this far, you're not here by accident. You're here by divine appointment. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because this is just the beginning. Wednesday is coming, but there's so much more God wants to reveal to his chosen ones. Remember, you are loved, you are called, you are chosen, and your Wednesday is closer than you think. Until we meet again, walk in faith, move in boldness, and Never Forge Heaven is cheering you on. The countdown continues. Your breakthrough is loading. And Wednesday is almost here.